All right, you guys, here we go with 5-3, medians and altitudes of triangles.
So we're going to start off with the math humor. What do you do when it rains?
I think you coincide.
Oh.
Okay, we're going to start with median. Median is just simply a segment whose endpoints are on the vertex of the triangle and then the midpoint of the opposite side. Every triangle has 3 medians. The reason why, every triangle has 3 vertices. So we start at the vertex and we go across the triangle to the midpoint of the opposite side. Start at the vertex, midpoint of the opposite side, so on and so forth. Okay, what happens then is if you're hitting the midpoint of the opposite side, you end up creating 2 congruent segments every single time. All right, so our first example just simply asks you to draw the median from Q to TR. Okay, then they want you to use these symbols, either perpendicular or congruent, to help you finish off the picture. So it kind of sort of gives you direction here. It says they want you to start at Q, so from Q going over to TR. Now remember, I want a median. Medians start at the vertex and cut the opposite side in half using the midpoint. So you're going to draw a line from that vertex to the midpoint. Now because this is the midpoint over here, we're going to use congruency symbols because these 2 segments have to be congruent. In this example, it asks you to find AB. So here's AB. They also tell you that BD is the median. BD is the median. I'm going to put my marks here. If BD is the median, that makes these 2 congruent. All right, so if I want to find AB, I want you to notice I'm going to have to solve for x somehow. Well, using the other information that we have, if BD is the actual median here, I should know that AD and CD are going to be congruent. And if they're congruent, their measures are equal. So I'm going to get my x by setting these equal to each other. So I have x plus 3 equals 2x minus 17. So you end up with what, you guys? X equaling 20. Now I'm not done. Even though x is 20, I still have to find AB. So if I want AB, I have to take x and subtract 2. So 20 minus 2 gives me 18. All right, we're going to talk about something called a centroid. The point of concurrency of the medians of a triangle is called your centroid. So this means if I draw medians from each one of my vertices to the opposite side, like this, this, and this, where all 3 of these meet, that point is called the centroid. The centroid of a triangle will always be in the inside, and it's also considered the center of gravity because it's where the point, a triangular region is going to actually balance each other. So what you do is you draw the medians from each vertice where they all meet. That's called the centroid. Now, what would it be if we didn't have any theorems, right? The centroid theorem says the centroid of a circle, the centroid of a triangle is located 2/3 the distance from each vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. So let's see what that says. This first one right here kind of gives you an example. It says that AP, so the distance from the vertex to the centroid, is 2/3 the distance of AY. So it's 2/3 the distance of the whole median. Likewise, BP here, BP, is going to be 2/3 the distance of the whole median, BZ. And then the other way around, CP is 2/3 of CX. So this next example says you get triangle LMN. It says that RL is going to be 21, so that makes this whole distance here 21. Oops, 1. And it says that SQ is actually 4. They want you to find LS and NQ. Okay? Well, if we want to find LS, LS is actually part of this LR. I know that LR is 21. Remember, LS has to equal 2/3 of LR. So 2/3 of 21, if I reduce this goes into here 7 times, would give me LS, which is 14. NQ is this whole piece here. Okay, well I know from NS it's 2/3. which leaves from S to Q to be 1/3. Okay, so 1/3 of the whole distance, NQ, has to equal this 4. Well, to solve for this, it's simple. All you have to do is multiply both sides by 3. So you get that NQ is 12. This is very similar. I would like for you to label the picture and then find KW, please, and LZ. Then come back and we will go over them. So it tells you in triangle JKL we have ZW, that's this piece right here, being 7, and LX, which is the whole thing here, being 8.1. They want you to find KW, and they want you to find LZ. Well, KW is this whole piece here. What you should have noticed is that ZW is 1/3 of KW. So if I take 1/3 of KW, it should equal 7. So just like we did before, when we multiply by 3, we get KW being 21. For LZ now, LZ here has to be 2/3. 2/3 of LX, is LZ. I know that LX is 8.1, so if I take 2/3 of 8.1, it should give me LZ, which is about 5.4. So we talked about medians. Medians were from the vertex to the opposite side, the midpoint of the opposite side. We also have something called an altitude here. Altitude measures height, okay? Altitude is the perpendicular segment from a vertex of a line to the opposite side. The triangle is going to have 3 altitudes, just like it has 3 medians. And then don't forget, when we're talking altitude, we're talking about the heights. We're looking at the tallest point. So you could have something like this, where we go from the tallest point and it cuts through the center. If you have a skewed triangle or a triangle that's oblique, one that kind of leans to one side, it might be outside. And then if it's a right triangle, sometimes it's actually going to be one of the legs of the triangle. All depends on how the triangle looks. Just remember, it starts at the highest point. I am so sorry for my handwriting. I'm still trying to get used to this. I don't think I'm ever going to get used to this. So you want to start at the highest point to go perpendicular to the opposite side. So an example might be, I ask you to draw an altitude from X over to JC and then use my marks. Well, they tell you they want you to start at X and go over to JC, right? So if you need to, turn this a little bit to the side. If I want to start at X and go over to JC, remember it's got to be perpendicular. So if I draw my line going straight down, boop, 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 that's not straight down. What I'll have to do is extend the side in order to get my perpendicular line here. That would be my altitude. I want you to notice I use my perpendicular mark by marking it with a 90-degree angle. So doing an example with this, last example you guys, it says I want you to find BD. BD is right here, 2x. Then they tell you that AD is the altitude of ABC. In order to find BD, I have to find x. So look at the picture. What do we know? If this is an altitude, you should know that it creates a 90-degree angle here. Right away, you should be able to see. If I set 6x minus 12 equal to 90, I can get my x. Go ahead and solve for x, come back, and we'll see if we get the same answer. 6x should equal 102, so you should have gotten that x is 17. Now, to find BD, all I have to do is plug it in. You get BD is 34. Okay, medians and altitudes. This is what we learned about. Make sure you know the difference and know how to draw these in. Have a great evening, guys.